Full disclosure, I'm a fan of Laju Iren. I am a fan from her days on Okada books, stories, dating intelligently, and all the others. I am a fan. I'm a fan. Would that hold me back from truly saying what I feel about the movie? I don't think so. Today we're discussing Last to Marry by Laju Iren Films. Yeah. Laju Iren has done a couple of films already. Loving Amanda is one that was adapted from a book that she published years before. There is give me a moment. Let me find out all the books she's published. Sorry, all the films she's published. Okay, yeah, I'm back. I've seen all the films she's published. Loving Amanda was definitely on the list. Mistakenly Yours. That's the one I was trying to remember because I know how much she campaigned for this film last year when it was heading to a three-in-one virtual viewing experience thingy thingy. And then there are a couple of others that she did prior to really launching this new wave of filmmaking streak she's on. I think it's Nigerian Sun. There's this other very lovey-dovey web series that had this very colorful pinkish poster. What's the title again? During Ever After. Yes, During Ever After. So basically, Adrienne is a storyteller. The Lord Storyteller, actually, that's what she calls herself. And Last to Marry is her latest endeavor in filmmaking. Yes. Now, how good is Last to Marry? Well, that's what you and I are going to figure out here. I'm done watching the film, but it'll be nice to walk through it stage by stage. But yeah, Last to Marry tells the story of Abidemi, played by Juliana Olayode. She's a very successful lawyer. She has a car, a house, and is doing really fine in life. But like the title already tells us, Abidemi is unhappy. She's desperate to get married. And the entire conflict of the story, the entire journey of the story is having us follow this character as she trods that road, that path. You know, she's in her 30s. With all the money and with all the success she has, a prayerful Christian still, she's unhappy and feels incomplete. And the story is just a didactic movement of teaching people, teaching Christian faithfuls, that there is more to life than getting married. That Last to Marry isn't a fool. Yeah, I think I summarized that well. The story is cheesy, it is didactic, like I've mentioned, but doesn't make it a bad one because I had a good time with it. And in some ways, Nigerian films reminds me of the good old days of Mount Zion films, films that are unapologetically Christian, and are willing to teach. That's what it is, teach. Preach the gospel in a way, but teach, teach faithfuls, things that they should know, or things they know in some cases, like in this one, things they already know, but perhaps in the entire thingy about life where we are bustling and jostling, you forget, and it's nice to be reminded. It's good to be reminded that there is more than the superficial things that we see as Abidemi gets to find out, the story starts with this entire sequence that is reminiscent of all these balloon popping stuff we see on the internet these days, Abidemi gets to stand before, I think, about five men, if I'm not mistaken, and they're all giving silly reasons about why she's not the one, why she's unmarriageable, It was just very funny. And then we see Abidemi pleading and begging and please marry me, and for a moment I was like, it turns out that was a dream sequence, and already it sort of establishes who Abidemi is as a character. The next couple of scenes also do that some more, as she speaks with her friends, and then she goes about this whole, yes, I need to marry, I must marry, this is my year, and the first step of action, that we see in the film is her wanting to tell her boss, yeah, I believe is his name, how much he means to her and how she's been so into him in all the years they've been working together. Um, that was a funny one because that never did happen. Because before she could open her mouth to talk, BA tells her that he's engaged to, I don't think this is her act nemesis, but definitely someone she doesn't like at the office, and that was funny to see. And then this leads to an entire scene where I think Juliana does some of her best acting work in the film, in the scene where she cries her heart out and pours her heart out to the Lord, telling him, she needs a man. And true to his words as a prayer answering father, the next day says two men come into her orbit. One is her new tenant. Yes, she's that successful. She has a space that she leased out. Her new tenant, who comes to say thank you and sort of shoehorns himself into our orbit. The red flags are there. I can see it. I'm almost certain that if you've watched it, you too can see it. But for some reason, Abidemi doesn't see it. He presses on and tells her that he doesn't take no for an answer, that she must go on, out on a dinner with him the next day because you do touch and follow for months, And and then this leads to one of the most funniest sequences in the entire film that just threw me out. The pacing, um, back to back, we see they just go from strangers to lovers basically in 5 minutes, under 5 minutes. That was jarring to speak honest, But there's him, and then there's someone she reconnects with at the office from her childhood when she was in school in boarding house. Senior TJ, she called him. That he both of them basically come into her orbit almost as soon as she prays. I mean, if you didn't have you're not sure. How do I put this? If you ever needed a reason to pray for 5 billion naira to appear in your account or $5 billion, I think this is it. Prayers, they get answered very, very, very quickly. And then the rest of the movie is just us going on this journey with Abidemi as she comes to realization that sometimes what we want may not work. What God wants for you may not be God's plan for you, and then God's timing is the best. And that truly lasts to marry is not a fool. So I thought it was a good story, didactic, like I said, because the dialogues, the writing doesn't tend to be deep. How we get people say a lot of all these award making award films made for awards. How they are pretentiously deep. People say that a lot. So this doesn't even pretend to be deep. It doesn't even pretend to want to win awards. I believe it is just after passing its message. It's a very simple and straightforward thingy. So what that means is that sometimes these dialogues, the dialogues you get to hear can feel a bit jarring, can take you out a little bit. Yeah, I remember a couple of them, and it's but it's not terrible. The biggest culprit I think for this film to me is sometimes the acting performances. No, scratch that. Most times the acting performances, and this is as a result of the people cast to play certain characters. For example, the guy who plays BA, Abidemi's boss. I don't know if that guy is a professional actor, but I think he may need a little bit of brushing up, for his next role. And this cuts across because it felt a lot of time like people who were cast in this film were people who had either asked, to be in Laju Iren's next film, or doing the drama in it at church. I don't know. Wasn't Some of them were lacking, and some either they brought too much energy that wasn't meeting up with that of their co-partner, or too low an energy. So there was a mismatch. Chemistry was just wavy across the lines. We see this a lot. We see this with Abidemi and her supposed three musketeers, Nkem and Charity. In fact, I would have preferred if we didn't even get to see those ladies physically, because by the time in the one scene they did share together where they were doing the exercise, I felt nothing. In fact, I felt more chemistry over the phone in their scenes over the phone, than the one where they did share screen together. And then we see the same thing with, like I mentioned, Abidemi and her boss. We see the same thing with Abidemi and Amata, one of her love interests, the neighbor. Amata is the neighbor. It's just not working. And even people like Ifeanyi Kalu, Ifeanyi Kalu is a good seasoned actor. I think he's just like Juliana Olayode, of everybody in this cast. Both of them are, I want to say only professional actors, but they're like the big wigs, recognizable faces, yes. Recognizable faces, recognizable names. So but even at that, you get to see elements of the things that hold the storytelling back, even in defining scenes. It is still his best, but clearly the best is not enough, either because of the directorial force and vision. I don't know. There's just something lacking across the board in the acting performances. Even Juliana. Juliana is good, as Abidemi, but you can't help but feel in certain scenes that she's just not doing her best. That it could have been better. I think, yes, it could have been better in some scenes, while some just work the way they are. So I felt like with a stronger directorial voice, stronger directorial vision and force, we could have gotten better performances, generally. So yeah, that was something I didn't like about the film. Something else I didn't like, I mentioned already, is the pacing. And I think this also ties into the editing in some scenes. There's this particular scene that I don't know. Just watch this. Watch this.
Mountain has decided to come to Abidemi.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Abidemi goes from wearing a housewear to being so glammed up. And what was the entire thing of we going from a wide shot to a close-up shot? It felt jarring. And this issue isn't prevalent, but it was worth mentioning because honestly, it threw me out. A wise man once said that good editing, like good audio, is not noticeable. The moment you start to notice these things, viewing experience is already hampered. But not a bad experience, not a bad experience. Last to Marry teaches us a lot of good lessons, and it's part of the things I liked about it. Like I said, it's didactic, but that doesn't make it bad. Some of the lessons that are very prominent, self-respect is crucial. It's important everyone has self-respect, because a little more self-respect would have helped Abidemi avoid all the nonsense she was swallowing from Amata and even TJ. TJ was a good loving guy, but too unevenly trying to yoke together was not going to yoke for long. It took her long enough to find that out, or to figure it out, or to see it, what all of us could see, and so a little bit more self-respect would have been reassuring, and that is a lesson I'm guessing we're supposed to take from this. Do not be like Abidemi, have some self-respect, be confident, trust in God's timing and in your own efforts too, to meet up to, because heaven helps those who help themselves. What else did I learn and like about Last to Marry? Let me see. Well, I like the movie for existing. Yes, I do like it for existing. We need more films like this. Because as far as bad YouTube movies go, Last to Marry is not in that conversation. It is pretty much decent. There's room for improvement, but it's not a bad film. Not in the list at all. I would like to see better step up production-wise for the next Laju Iren film to come to YouTube. I would like to see an improvement. Things like I noticed here, like the editing issue, the pacing issue. But even as they are existing here, it doesn't make the film bad. Honestly, it's a good watch, a good decent watch. So, who is it for? If you're Christian, definitely good for you. If you're somebody who is struggling with a romance life and singledom and thinking that life is passing you by, I think you should watch this. Male or female, there are lessons here, for everyone. The movie asks this very important question: do you just want to marry now, or do you want to marry well? And it gives us answers, And for the character, Abidemi, she had her therapist to tell her what to do, and to help her see the light, basically. But for those of us who cannot afford that luxury, that's why the movie exists. Watch it, and I'm sure it'll give you nudge in the right direction that we definitely need. I think it's a good movie, fairly done well. But let me know, have you seen Last to Marry? If you have, please tell me what you think about it in the comments. If you haven't, and you've watched this review up to this point, that means you have no problem with spoilers. So still go ahead and tell me if you think it is something worth watching or not. Whichever one works for me. So thank you so very much. Please like, share, and subscribe, the whole 9 yards. I'll see you in the next video.